Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Office Bloke Daz.
I'm Gaynor.
Office Bloke Aidan.
Three of us here today.
Hello. Hello.
Phrases, common terms and phrases originate. Where they originated. Common terms and phrases have been around for years and years, and they just keep going on. And people pick them up as well, new ones, and sometimes even people change them and say the wrong ones.
Yeah.
Let's find out where these are from.
Whether you realize it or not, the languages we speak are changing every day. And as the English language evolves, many of the words and phrases we use become antiquated. Their meanings are seemingly lost to time. Some evoke
Boris Johnson will still
controversy and
use
require reassessment, while others have found
definitely
whole
still
new
used.
applications. Today, we're going to revisit some age-old terms and phrases and explain
I'm not going to lie, it's one of my favourite words.
Yeah, it's a good one.
where they came from and what they mean. But before we do that, be sure you subscribe to the Weird History channel. Then let us know in the comments below what other weird origins you would like to hear about. Okay, don't run amok, because we're about to cover that.
Basket case.
Do you have the time to listen to us whine about how Green Day used the term basket case? But decades before Billy Joe Armstrong was even in a baby basket, the term basket case was being used in a not-so-catchy and fun way. The term was originally used to describe World War I soldiers who had lost limbs during battle. The reasoning behind the term basket case was implying that these now immobile soldiers would have to be carried around in a basket. While it's unclear if this ever actually happened to a wounded soldier, the term was so widespread that the Surgeon General eventually had to step in and deny any foundation for stories of basket cases in.
Might not have been wheelchairs then. I don't know when the wheelchair was invented.
No, but I thought someone who was a basket case
Stretcher.
was somebody who was a bit like
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like it got like issues.
Yeah, it's like basket case. That's why that's the way I'd phrase it if someone was a bit crazy. A bit
I've never heard the phrase of basket. I've just heard
No.
that. I've just thought it was a thing. Like I just thought it was that.
You've never heard the phrase?
No.
It's when someone's a bit crazy, you say he's a basket case. Or she's a basket. Usually she's a basket case.
Any hospital he knew about. Eventually, the term stopped being exclusive to World War I soldiers and became a catch-all phrase to apply to anyone who lacked emotional coping skills.
There you go. Bit of a basket case.
Moron.
It's the perfect word to describe everyone on the road who isn't you. It shouldn't surprise anyone that the word moron is derived from the Greek word for foolish. Another great word to describe the guy who rode your ass all the way to work. But what might surprise you
I don't think
is the
I've ever used this
extremely
word.
blunt way
No,
the
I have.
word moron was used in the medical field to describe substandard intellectual abilities. Dr. Henry H. Goddard had some pretty crummy views of mental disabilities when he coined the term in the early 20th century. He separated mental disabilities into two groups, idiots and morons. Idiots being mentally challenged people who do not have children, while morons continued the race with a line of children like himself. Goddard's words. Goddard and his eugenicist cronies had some other views that could be described as incredibly uncool. Today, the word moron has ceased to be a disability diagnosis and has more or less gone back to its
going on there?
foolish roots.
Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
Hypothetically, if a rhinoceros were to escape the zoo and destroy the city, we might say that rhino was running amok downtown. Or we might say, "There's a rhinoceros!" Ah! Depending on our
That's more like
proximity
it.
to the
Yeah.
rhino. The phrase, which typically evokes images of homicidal or violent behavior, actually originated with 16th century Indonesian warriors called the amuko. According to a 16th century merchant, Duarte Barbosa, the amuko were ingenious and subtle, cunning and treacherous. They were daring in their mischief and valiant fighters who would go out onto the streets and kill as many persons as they meant. English poet Andrew Marvell used a similar phrase in his 1672 satirical book, The Rehearsal Transposed, writing,
I don't think it's used
"He
that
runs
often now."
amok," as they call
Yeah.
it there, stabbing every man he meets. Exactly like a hypothetical escaped rhino.
Cat got your tongue.
Yeah, run amok, I think, is more used if like a newsreader might be describing something nowadays.
Yeah.
I don't think if you're talking to someone in the pub or down wherever in the office and someone says he was running amok, you'd be like, what?
Yeah.
Who says that?
I definitely would.
Yeah.
You need
you'd be
to
like, who
bring
says
these
that now?
words back.
Yeah.
The scourge of every shy kid at a large gathering, the phrase, "cat got your tongue," has been long used as a way to state, "Hey, you're quiet." The suspiciously specific phrase was coined in either ancient Egypt or the 17th century, depending on who you ask. Some versions of this origin story say the phrase is referencing the literal punishment of cutting out tongues and feeding them to cats in ancient Egypt. Others say the phrase comes from the 17th century British Navy as a way to mock fellow sailors who were whipped by a cat-o'-nine-tail. The punishment was reportedly so painful that hapless victims were left unable to speak for some time afterward.
Wow. Never heard that one.
Grandfathered in.
Being
Not me neither.
grandfathered in means someone can keep operating as they always have, despite status quo changes. You could be exempt from new laws, get a great deal on apartment rent, or even retain your cheaper mobile service, after your provider realized how unprofitable unlimited data is for them. The phrase itself has its basis in legal context related to 19th and 20th century voting restrictions. Sometimes, as an attempt to disenfranchise voters, the right to vote had literacy requirements, poll taxes, and residency or property restrictions. But you could avoid all that rigmarole so long as your grandfather was exercising his right. Yeah, if you had a grandpa who voted before the Civil War, you could skip all the requirements and sashay yourself to the front of the voting line. The idea wasn't to restrict anyone from voting, but more to ensure that illiterate whites wouldn't be
I've never
excluded
heard
from
of
their
it.
civic
No,
duty.
I've not.
This blocked many African Americans from voting in many parts of the rural South. Eventually, the 15th Amendment would make it illegal to discriminate based on race. However, the Grandfather Clause had other requirements that allowed the law to be circumvented. Thanks a lot, Grandpa.
I've heard of that. Long time no see.
You've heard of that, Ryan?
I
We've
still
all
say
been
that.
Yeah,
in
I've
a
heard that.
situation where we unexpectedly run into one of our old high school acquaintances and have absolutely nothing to say. That's when it's time to reach into your back pocket and pull out the old reliable, long time no see. Its origin has actually been traced back to various non-English speaking groups, though who exactly started it is up for some debate. A dictionary of catchphrases, American and British,
The latest one now is what you. Where have you been?
Surely that's like, do you really need to track back of where that came from? Because
Well,
that's
it's always good to know where phrases come from, isn't it?
It's
no,
like-
I get
original.
that, but like this is like sort of like something you would say. You you completely understand what it means.
Yeah,
without
someone said it to me yesterday. Not seen someone from ages, and they went, "Hey, long time no see." To me yesterday,
Yeah.
and I went, "Where have you been?"
In that accent.
Yeah,
Have you heard the phrase "throw the baby out with the dishwater with the bathwater"?
No.
yeah, I have. Yeah.
claims the phrase was introduced by the U.S. by British merchants in the early 20th century. Theories say the phrase is a Chinese translation of "Hacho mei qian guo," which directly translates to "long time no see." The phrase first appeared in print
this
in
guy.
1900 in a popular novel by author William F. Drannon. His attribution is to a Native American character who says, "Good morning, long time no see you." Later that year, "long time no see" was used by another Native American character in the book Tales of the Sierras by Jeff W. Hayes.
Hoity-toity.
To describe something as hoit is to call out foolish behavior. The word is not used so much anymore, but in the 17th century, journalist Sir Roger Lestrange coined the phrase after watching people enjoy dancing. Best you can assume, Lestrange hated fun and described women, he says, changing and jigging to every tune they heard and all upon the hoity-toity, like mad wenches of 15. The
Sounds
end
like
of the
Boris
18th
Johnson
century
again.
saw the meaning shift away from describing boisterously annoying people. Today, the phrase is usually presented to people who are haughty and snobbish. You hear that,
Yeah, that's what I'm
Lestrange?
saying. I thought it meant
Who's
snobby.
hoity-toity now? If someone has ever accused you of something to avoid getting blamed themselves, then we're sorry to say
Throwing you under
have
the
been
bus.
thrown under the bus. The phrase first appeared in a 1980 issue of the Financial Times. Author Eleanor Goodman used it in reference to the political turmoil happening in England at the time. Except over there, they call buses coaches. Since then, thrown
go.
under a
Call them
bus has
buses.
been used in any kind.
I'm not sure that's true.
A coach is when you're
Coach is
going
one-
a long distance, like on a holiday. A
Is it?
bus. You get in the bus.
Coach is something you sit on, isn't it? It's a couch. But it's the coach is one level.
I thought coach was like a manager.
Yeah, that's it as well. Yeah, a sports coach.
Yeah.
No, I
Well,
would say a
coach is one level. A bus is two levels.
No,
double
that's
decker.
a double-decker bus.
Right, that's
But-
true. You can get on a bus that's one level.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would I would say a coach.
that's a coach.
I would say a coach
No,
when
it's
you're
not.
going on holiday, like a big. With
I just say I
curtains.
think a coach is just a really nice bus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like a posh bus.
I always call a coach a single level. When when
No.
you get on, it's
You
just one
don't.
level.
Because when you get on the
That's
bus,
okay.
if you got on the bus,
You wouldn't say the Buzzy Bee coach.
That was a van.
Wasn't it? It was a Buzzy Bee bus.
It was like a short bus. For the first name they shown it before the program started.
Context where someone is put into a vulnerable position. Rock star Cyndi Lauper may be the first to use the phrase in its current context in 1984, as she remarked to the Washington Post, "You are either the bus or you're under it." Still, others claim the phrase actually originated in minor league baseball, and their penchant for transporting players to away games via bus. We can only assume minor league players were routinely run over. We know Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear, and we have some information about his hair situation. But aside from that, where did the original phrase come from? The origin is from a poem, but not that poem. Rudyard Kipling's poem, Fuzzy Wuzzy, originally coined the phrase when his British soldier character referred to the indigenous men he faced as Fuzzy Wuzzy. The people referenced were the Hadendoa, who had dark skin and curly hair. Today, mentions of Fuzzy Wuzzy are usually pretty complimentary, but the term and its connection to the physical appearance of the fighting Sudanese warriors still remain to this day. During the early 20th century, the United States saw an influx of Irish immigrants flocking to the land of opportunity. What they also saw an influx of was Irish discrimination based on the perception of criminal behavior by those who hail from the Emerald Isle. Around 1909, it wasn't out of the ordinary for policemen to round up these Paddies into the back of something called a wagon. Can you see where we're going with this? Ever since then, pretty much any enlarged vehicle capable of transporting any variety of criminal can be referred to as a paddy wagon. No
Or
Irish
bus.
need apply. If you are planning to catch a tiger by its toe, you better make sure you equip your Eenies, meenies, minies, and mo's. While the spelling of the rhyming words may vary, the nursery rhyme is the same the whole world round. According to scholar Adrian Raffel, the rhyme can be traced back to England and Wales and the methods used by shepherds when they were counting sheep, just before they fell asleep. The precise origins of Eeny, meeny, miny, mo have been lost to time, but the sounds and cadence from the rhyme have transitioned into actual sentences and melodies over time.
I wonder if kids still use
You
that.
may associate it with annoying people sitting in cheap seats while being loud and belligerent. If you're a bit older, you may remember it as the kids section on the Hoity-toity show in the 40s and 50s. You may even relate it to Charlie Brown and the gang. But the origin of peanut gallery predates all of that,
Never
all the
heard of
way
it.
back
No.
to 1867. The first documented use of the phrase was found in a review for a vaudeville show that described content that made individuals in the peanut gallery to blush. The phrase included some racial references as well as other controversial connotations that make the use of peanut gallery a negative thing to call a group of people. Not weird history, though. We rely on our comment section peanut gallery to keep things running around here. Keep those comments cranking. We know what you're going to say. You know all about the rule of thumb and how it relates to that old wives' tale. You know, the one that says there was an ancient legal provision that a husband could beat his wife with a rod or stick no thicker than his thumb. Well, aside from no evidence of that ever having been the case, nothing even comparable to it even appeared until the 17th century. But despite that made-up backstory, the framework of that belief stuck around well into the 18th century, when it became a piece of the conversation about any kind of punishment at all. Aside from that, the best anyone can assume is that the rule of thumb was related to the actual length of your thumb, for some reason. Hip, hip, hooray. That cheer has been linked to many possible origins. One theory says that the phrase is rooted in anti-Semitism, pointing out the similarities between hip hip and hep hep, which references Jerusalem's destruction in 135 CE.
Well,
The original version of the phrase continued on through the Middle Ages and even into the early 20th century. But others say it's nothing so horrible and is in fact meant to be a more cheerful cry. Sailors in the early 17th century were known to shout hip hip hurrah, which may be an early prototype of today's version. Historians also placed another militaristic version of hep hep hooray on drill sergeants, who had successfully trained their cadets and wanted to shout about it. When you're
That hip hip hooray, I've heard that with the anti-Semitic one before. I've not heard the other one.
No,
and
I've not.
different things, and I did know they said the hip hip hurrah, because it's sometimes when you see it written down, it says hip hip hurrah.
Really?
And I always thought,
Why do they say it at the end of a birth when you're singing Happy Birthday then?
it's like a form of cheer, isn't it? 3 cheers, and the hip hip is supposed to give you the what do you call it, the precursor, if you want, to the hurrah or the hooray. Yeah.
You're feeling exasperated. No one could fault you for shouting, "Now wait just a cotton-picking minute," especially if you threw in some yeehaws and maybe a couple "what tarnation" for good measure. The origin of this phrase comes from, no surprise here, the actual picking of cotton, one of the most tedious and least exciting parts of cotton production. Picking cotton all day was pretty rough on the fingers, which would become raw and eventually develop rough calluses. So, naturally, cotton picking became associated with bad vibes.
Yeah.
Cotton picking is an old game, and the phrase can be traced back to sometime around the 17th century. But the racially negative connotations of the phrase can be found in the U.S. starting in the 19th century.
No, I heard that phrase neither.
What?
About cotton picking.
You not do the Elvis song, "Get your cotton picking fingers out my curly hair"?
No.
That's the only bit I know about it. At the time when I used to sing it, I didn't know what it meant, and then when I realised what it meant, I was like, "Oh."
Yeah, I've never heard the phrase. Drink the
When
Kool-Aid.
someone gets way too deep into a thing, we like to joke around that they've drank the Kool-Aid. Because who doesn't love a good joke? When Kool-Aid has been consumed, the insinuation is that the decision-making had been completely taken out of a situation and the subject will blindly follow any orders given. This
Well, if you drink enough of it, you can change your name to that, right?
Yeah.
What's his name? Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Yeah.
Who's that?
NFL player.
Really?
Yeah.
phrase sees its unfortunate origin in the events that led up to the Jonestown Massacre in Guyana in 1978. Cult leader Jim Jones instructed his followers and their families to down a fruit drink laced with cyanide. Some were willing, many were forced. The final death toll was around 900. We have to admit, that's not quite as fun as the Kool-Aid Man's catchphrase. So what do you think? What's your...
Yeah, some.
Yeah, there's a few in there that.
Yeah, it's a funny channel that as well. It makes you laugh, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But there's a few in there I've never heard in my life.
No.
No, yeah, same.
But there's quite a few in there I've heard, and
Yeah.
like the rule of thumb thing. I know you get a lot of housewives' tales, don't you, about where these beginnings come from.
Yeah.
But that's all cleared up. There's no real, rule of thumb for whatever it measures.
No.
But it's not that anyway. It's not beating your wife.
No.
Right? Otherwise, you'd be.
Let's see you try.
Yeah, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.
Yeah,
Bye.
cheers.